Is the appointed time? Thank you. Everyone's here today. Item number 1. Confirmation of minutes of meeting. Meeting held on the 15th of October. You've already received the minutes. The Secretariat has not received any proposals for amendments. Can you confirm the minutes? Thank you. Item 2. Information paper issued since last meeting. After the last meeting, the government submitted an information paper on the 18th plenary of the Hong Kong Guangdong Cooperation Joint Conference. Paper number CB bracket 141 stroke 15 to 50 to 16 bracket 01. Item 3. Date of next meeting and items for discussion. The next meeting is fixed on the 15th of December, a Tuesday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Well, I will be out of town, and I'll ask Mr. Vincent Fang, the Deputy Chairman, to hold the meeting. Items for discussion. These are the proposed items. First, proposed retention of 1 administrative officer staff grade C, AOSGCD2 post under the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau. That is the first item in a list of outstanding items. The second one is further development of Hong Kong Science Park, item 2 on the list. Well, on the list of outstanding items, there are items 1 and 2, 1 being proposed retention of 1 administrative officer staff grade C. Is that it? Is it there? Where is it? List of outstanding items. Item 1 on the list of outstanding items for discussion. This is the trade office, an ETO. A creation of a post? Yes, they will come to us for endorsement. It will only take a short time, right? The second one is item 2 on the list you have got in your hands. Further development of Hong Kong Science Park. Is that all right? Well, everyone's been talking about business opportunities of the One Belt, One Road. Will we have an agenda item in this panel? Yes, it's a very good suggestion. Last year, the Financial Secretary has been talking about $500 million fund for textiles and also art development. Is it possible for us to have a progress report? Or simply a report? I see that we will discuss about WTO and also testing and certification. Seems that they are too far removed from us. No, not that, but yes, we've been talking about it quite a lot. And I agree with what Mr. Lam said. You proposed two items. One is One Belt, One Road. The other one, the use of funds. One in relation to garment, and well, there are many funds. Do we choose one out of the two for the next meeting and for the other one to be in the meeting after next? That's just a suggestion. Mr. Martin Liu, I agree with Mr. Lam. Item 8 and 11, that is trade relations between the mainland and Hong Kong and diversified development industry of Hong Kong. Can we maybe put them under one agenda item instead of breaking them down? We can have a consolidated discussion. Yes, that's a very good suggestion. One Belt, One Road together with 8 and 11. Charles, to be followed by Miss Anne Chang. I do agree that we should have a discussion of One Belt, One Road. But if you mix it with other items, if we are to say talk about the Hong Kong Science Park, then we will end up talking just about One Belt, One Road. I don't mind having more meetings or a longer meeting. What I fear is that if we put them under one item, then there will be some restrictions and the discussion may only focus on One Belt, One Road. Yes. Perhaps I'll ask Mr. Fang if he mind extending the next meeting. I think that's fine. Are there 3 items? The Secretariat will follow up on the venue. I agree with Mr. Liu. Related items can be put under one agenda item. There may be a lot of discussions and we may need more time. I'll ask the Secretariat to find us a venue. You talk to the government as well. Because today we have to hand over the room at 4:30. Ms. Chang, thank you. I just want to say that in the last legislative year, I have proposed about a diversified development of our industries, because we've been talking about retail and financial services only, and it seems that the retail sector has reached its chilling winter. We need to have a diversified development of our industries. Well, I talked about item 12, promotion of the industrialization of the beauty industry in Hong Kong. You know that our beauty industry doesn't just stay at giving facials. It may even extend to the manufacturing and production of cosmetics. So we need to have a discussion. And about item 14, research and development of Chinese medicine. We now have the Innovation and Technology Bureau. So will this item stay at this panel, or would it be handed over to the Innovation and Technology Bureau? Well, I've heard some rumors only, that it should. Well, that actually should go to health services. We know that manufacturing of Chinese medicine and also maybe export will contribute to our GDP growth, and it will benefit Hong Kong. Why don't we have a discussion on this? So I hope that there will be a timetable setting out when we'll have discussions on these items. So Ms. Chang proposes items 12 and 14. As far as I know, well, there is a joint panel with these health services about beauty industry, say for example IPL and some cosmetic surgery. Yes, I think they're only talking about code of conduct, but we want to talk about beauty industry. But if you ask Mr. Koh, he will tell you that it's not under his purview. We're talking about development of the beauty industry. I'll have to ask Greg So to see if he's responsible for that. So beauty industry and Chinese medicine, they are suitable industries for further development in Hong Kong. Yes, Anne's right. Well, industry development of the beauty industry is related to this panel. It's not just about beauty parlors or makeups. Yes, this panel will be involved. But what about the Policy Bureau? Well, it's for them to decide. It's nothing to do with us. It's for the government to decide. We will just have a discussion about a beauty industry, because it is also about the manufacturing of beauty equipment and also manufacturing of cosmetics. But we have to send out invitations. But of course, there will be someone responsible for that. Otherwise, there will be trouble. But what about the counterpart? Well, if it's not just for one, they can send 2 or 3 officials to come to talk to us. Okay, we will also keep this in mind, Mr. Fang. Just now we talk about One Belt, One Road. Is it going to be discussed in the December meeting? Or like what Martin said, it should be consolidated with item 8. He said 8 and 11. Items 8 and 11. And mainly 8. It's really also related to 11 as well. But, well, I don't mind about when it will happen. But there is a direct relationship with 8 and perhaps for 11. It's something we need to discuss ourselves. Yes, it's related to 11, but it's very much about 8. Mr. Lam talked about a $500 million fund for the garment industry. Can it be related to 7? That is the development of our brand. Yes, of course. Apart from the local market and the overseas market, we would like to tap into the mainland market as well. Yes, that can be combined with 7. We can have a broad discussion. That wouldn't hurt. Well, but there are only so many sessions we can have, so we need to have more items in each meeting. Well, in the 18th 5th plenary, there was first mention about enhancing Hong Kong's position and function. And I believe they're talking about development in different areas, in particular economic area. So we need to have sufficient time to talk about development along this line. So I think we need to have an agenda item for One Belt, One Road. Okay, you have given us a lot of very good suggestions. We'll follow them up. And I have something to ask you. First, a report. Well, in relation to the items for discussion for this legislative year, me and Mr. Fang had a discussion with the government, and you'll find the items listed in the list of item for discussion. And I think it has to be amended, given what we've just discussed. If need be, we would need to have more meetings or extend the meetings. Well, for 5 and 6, say for example, promotion of inward investment progress report on R&D centers. It's not that they're not important. But compared to Chinese medicine and beauty industry, like Ms. Chang said, they may be more important than these. So can we maybe change the order? For reports, we just listen to the report. But for controversial items, say development of the beauty industry, Chinese medicine, there may be a lot of things to discuss about. And we may ask the government to do a lot of things.
I think that will take longer, so the meeting can be lengthened. I'm talking about the priority, the order. We can adjust that too. We're open to members' views. Now also, agenda item number 5. Now, item 13 in the outstanding items of discussion, that is the administration proposes to amend that progress on the promotion of intellectual property trading, because the government has already accepted the report by the committee on the trading of intellectual property rights, and it will embark on the implementation of those measures, and on the 19th of May, at the panel meeting, the government has reported to us on this matter, and so there is no further matter to be reported, so it's proposed to delete item 13. Now, when will be the next report? The last report was on the 19th of May, so it's once a year, so will that be in 2016 in May? So we first agreed that the item be deleted, and we will ask them to suggest the next discussion date. That's what I like to hear. I'd just like to know when that will be. Yes, we will send a letter and ask. Maybe not in this legislative year. Well, it's not that useful since it will not be in current legislative year. Now, okay, we don't need to hear the report in a meeting. Now, Chairman, now I don't know if this is right, but looking at the list of outstanding items, the item number 2, the further development of Hong Kong Science Park. And the item number 6, the progress report on research and development centers 2015 to 16, and also the item on the progress of the industrial estate. So maybe these are all related to the science park. Well, they are related, right? The science park projects and the industrial estates, now they are under different organizations and they are of different nature. Mrs. Fanny Law, does she, is she in charge of the unit that looks at these two, both these two? She overlooks also industrial estates. The science park is part of the industrial estates matter. Yes, it's under her too. So they don't have to come on more than one occasion. Well, let's ask how the work is divided. Okay. We come to item number 4, the latest development of the testing and certification industry. We'll ask the administration to report to us. Chairman, now concerning the latest development of the industry, It's all listed, set out in the document. Let me talk about it briefly. Now, since 2008 up to 2013, we don't have figures for 2014. We can see continued growth. Now, looking at the figures, it's $10 billion in business receipts, but actually the growth has been around 50% in the past 5 years. And compared to the GDP, it's higher. Now, this industry is not, well, we're not talking about just opening up a new factory or a new shop. We have to look at the requirements and the development of various industries, and we try to accommodate for that. So in November 2013, we came to this panel to report the progress, and in the past 2 years, we have done a lot to promote the industry. Now, first on accreditation service. Now, so that means the testing and certification industry will be under. Now, our accreditation service will get accreditation for our TNC establishments. So the certificates issued by our establishments will be accepted by more jurisdictions, and so the industry can develop more strongly. So we have signed memorandum of agreement with with the corresponding agencies in Taiwan and in the Gulf, and also Para 8 lists a number of new services that are accredited. Now, some of these establishments operate in industrial buildings, but because the land deeds impose certain restrictions, so they have to apply for waivers, and we have been talking to the lands department, and now the waiver fees are now exempted. Now, so this will become effective next year. Now, on other matters, now the CNT industry requires a lot of trained manpower. So at the universities and at BTC, we try to conduct more seminars so that the students learn about the potential of the industry and become interested to join the industry, so that we train more manpower for the industry. And also the qualifications framework has published SCS, a specification of competence standards for the industry. And also the Innovation and Technology Fund has been supporting the R&D in connection with CNT technologies. And in the past 2 years, we have 11 new projects that received funding from the fund, and 36 projects have been funded since 2011. So that's close to $80 million of funding, and we expect this to produce very fruitful results. Also, for specific industries, the Council for Certification and Testing and Certification has been looking at new industries that they can serve, and 6 industries have been selected, and they have done work for each of these 6 industries, and that's in Appendix A. Now, as for the mainland market, Now, in CEPA 7, Supplemental Agreement 7 of CEPA, now for products processed in Hong Kong, Hong Kong can do the certification and in cooperation with CCC in China, and 11 of these testing laboratories have been accredited for this work as of the latest month, and 6 have already entered into agreement with the mainland. And as for the Guangdong agreement signed last year, it allows us to provide testing and certification in respect of audio equipment industry, that where production is in the mainland, and we will continue to work with the departments in the central government to see whether this can be extended to other industries. And also we have conducted promotion activities in cooperation with TDC in respect of the T&C industry, providing more promotion for the industry. And next, members will have some questions. There are 4. So 5 minutes each, including answers. Sin Chung Kai, Chiang Lai Wan, Ma Fong Kwok, Chung Kwok Bun, 4 so far. Sin Chung Kai first. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to look at Appendix A, Item 7, the food industry. Now, for the Hong Kong public, now, of course, we hope that there can be more work on food safety so that people can feel more confident. Now, I don't know how you divide the work with FEHD. Now, for instance, organic food is sold in Hong Kong, including organic vegetables, etc. Now, there's a definition for organic food, right? Do people send their products to your agencies for testing? And will you be able to make the public more confident? Now, there are a rich variety of food items. Some of Hong Kong's food products are sold to the mainland, and we hope that they can come and be certified by you. Also, there are quite a lot of food in the mainland. They use Hong Kong brands, but they are produced in the mainland. Now, I'm not directly saying that they try to sell on the mainland using Hong Kong brands, and I don't know whether they are properly certified and tested. Now, on the testing and certification of food, perhaps I can ask Mr. Wong of the Accreditation Service to address us. Mr. Wong? Now, the HAS provide the accreditation service. There are 20-odd private laboratories providing laboratory service for food, and it covers everything basically covered by the law regarding food. So the private laboratories in Hong Kong have the capability to conduct the lab work on food. Now, on certification of organic food, there is no agency providing this service apart from an agency with the Hong Kong Baptist University. Now, I talked to them. Now, there are not that much agricultural production in Hong Kong. So for now, it doesn't have to. It's not there's no great necessity for an application to us, but they are providing a service to the farms in Hong Kong. And also you mentioned that Hong Kong products are sold in the mainland. Well, it's Hong Kong brands produced in the mainland, sold in the mainland as well as in Hong Kong.
Has it been tested in Hong Kong? Well, it will be the FEHC that is responsible for enforcing the law on food safety. And then they will check to see food for sale in Hong Kong, whether they comply with our regulations and requirements. So it's nothing to do with you then. Not really anything to do with you then. There is no direct relationship with the testing and certification, but you're responsible for testing and certification. We are responsible for accreditation of laboratories. Perhaps let me put it this way. Well, where is regulated by the law in Hong Kong? Say, for example, a requirement of accreditation or testing or certification. Well, they are all covered when it comes to certification and testing and certification institutions. Well, but if they think that if they have obtained accreditation for us, well, let me ask you, to promote accreditation, have you considered that food that is available for sale in Hong Kong has to be accredited? I think you're talking about two different things, Mr. Sin. Food that is available for sale in Hong Kong is regulated by the FEHD, so they will be the department taking action if there is any problem, and it's very different, and two different things actually. From the accreditation or testing and certification in Hong Kong, because the latter is an industry. Well, testing and certification industry, there are three types: testing, certification, and accreditation. They serve mainly 6 industries. So can we get more information from the government? Say, for the 6 major industries, Chinese medicine, is there certification, or is there only testing and no inspection? So we need to have a clear picture, because it's a very important industry to Hong Kong. Because well, our manufacturing industry is dwindling, and we only have retail industry left. So I think we can actually seize the opportunity of testing, inspection, and certification. But I have very little information, and I'd like to know more. In relation to the latest statistics, that is in bracket 03, I don't really understand. That is the figures between 2008 and 2013. There is stable growth, but it's November 2015. And it won't be long before we are in 2016. And you said that when you reported about the amount generated, that was the figure in 2011. You said there was an increase by 51%, the cumulative growth. I think you should give us the information as soon as possible. Update the figures. And this growth of 51%. What is the breakdown for the 6 trades, say Chinese medicine? So for testing, inspection and certification, well, maybe you don't have the authority to certify it. So can you maybe give us a clearer picture first? Give me a table, then we can have a more meaningful discussion. Commissioner. Yes, testing, inspection and certification, it's what we are talking about. It serves different industries, not just the 6. There are some trades that needs testing and certification. The 6 trades are mentioned because, well, when we're looking at further growth, other growth areas, these 6 trades have been identified. And it was said that perhaps these 6 trades will have further development. That's why we have mentioned that we have set out the development of these 6 trades. It's not that the testing and certification industry serving only these 6 trades, because well, it covers more different trades. It's just that this certification and testing council, the Council of Testing and Certification, think that these are new growth areas. Commissioner, that's not what I asked. And you rebutted me, saying that there are more than 6. I think you haven't heard me clearly. I said that mainly these 6 trades. And these 6 trades are not for future development. You said you have told us about the situation over the past 2 years. And I asked, are there maybe others outside these six trades? You can go watch the video. My question was there are 3 major types: testing, inspection and certification. First, about these 6 trades. Yes, there are others, and if you think they are important, give us the information as well. What are the respective business growth? Can you set it out in a table? Well, you said in the past few years. I don't know what you're referring to, 2008 and 2013 or just 2011, because you also gave us a figure for 2011. That is paragraph 4 of paper number bracket 03. It's just a few lines and it's not very clear. But anyway, I will take it that the period refers to 2008 and 2013. Can you add 2014 to it? I believe you have the figures. We have already paid our tax for this year. So all the information will be available by March. Can you maybe organize your questions or your thoughts first? Well, I just want a table. What table? I have already been paying attention to what you said. I just can't make it out. Well, does Miss Choi understand? No, your time's up. Next round, please. Well, and in the meantime, you think about what you want in the table. Mr. Ma. I have 2 questions. First is not in the paper. Testing and certification. When it comes to certification, there is a huge demand on the mainland. It's a big market. So I'd like to ask the government, what measures do they have to help the industry tap into the mainland market? Has anything been done to make use of CEPA so that they can become recognized laboratories to give certification. Because there is rapid development in this area on the mainland. If we don't try to move quickly, then our competitiveness will be affected in the long run. And in paragraph 10, you talk about measures to facilitate testing laboratory operation in industrial buildings. You try to let them use industrial buildings as far as possible. Well, for the cultural and creative industries, very often it can't be done. Can you tell me how come for testing and certification it can be done, that these are allowed to operate in industrial buildings and not cultural and creative industry? You give me the reason why, and then so that I can take it to the relevant bureau or department to ask them why it can't be done for cultural and creative industries. What about mainland? Yes, we have used CEPA. In Supplement 7, there are some liberalization measures for compulsory system for processed items under the compulsory certification system. We can do that, and if they are processed in Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong laboratories can do it. And in the Guangdong agreement in September last year, there is a breakthrough. Well, if for audiovisual products that are designed and prototyped in Hong Kong and processed or manufactured in Guangdong province, then it can be covered as well. It's a breakthrough, and of course we hope that it will be open up further to allow Hong Kong labs to give certification. And as to why this industry is allowed to operate in industrial buildings, well, as to why they can be done, I will defer to Mr. Wong. For industrial buildings in Hong Kong, and as to what use is allowed, you will have to refer to the land lease. There is a clause in the lease referring to industrial buildings or manufacturing, and there has been a court case. So under certain circumstance, if it's just say laboratories, calibration laboratories, it's not manufacturing, and these calibration laboratories or certifications, then the situation may be different. And we found that, sorry, I couldn't catch. Let me continue. Well, under the building, the covenant, if there is if there are restriction clauses, a waiver can be applied from the lands department. So for the operation of testing and calibration laboratories, they allow to use the industrial buildings with a waiver, because these are to facilitate manufacturing activities. Say, for example, testing of the samples or prototypes. We've had a discussion with the lands department, and we think that we can launch this waiver, this scheme to offer waivers. So perhaps you can ask the Bureau as to whether it applies to other industries?
Now, as for other activities within industrial buildings, now that has to do with the land lease. Maybe we can't answer that. Maybe you should ask the Development Bureau under Mr. Paul Chen. Now they were able to gain access, but not many industries. Mr. Chung? Now, Hong Kong has a good reputation, so I think the Tay and CNT industry has good prospects. But Hong Kong has a small market. There's not much manufacturing production. There's not much manufacturing here. So maybe you can consider cooperating with international organizations to do international CNT. So you can do CNT in other places. Now, Hong Kong manufacturers have invested in many countries. Now, so the textile and garment industry is a good example. So you can certify for them. So maybe you can get mutual recognition with other organizations abroad, and then you can tackle foreign markets. Chairman, we are certainly in agreement with this. Now, for the certification agencies accredited by us, now if they gain recognition abroad, they will certainly be able to develop well. So there are already over 70 countries or economies who are our trading partners who accept our accredited agencies. So and there are other places too who accept our accredited agencies. So for instance, this year we have signed a memorandum of agreement with accreditation agency in the Gulf area, and we have done that for over 70 jurisdictions. Now, these industries are already in production, so I don't know which one you are focusing on and which ones are given priority. The Commissioner, we are not focusing on a particular industry. Now, for the accreditation agencies accredited by, for the certification agencies accredited by us, their certifications will be accepted in those countries or economies. Can you check on the internet the scope of service by these certification agencies? Already, Hong Kong certification agencies are already doing a lot of international certification work. For instance, 50001. Now, very often we issue certificates for textile manufacturers to overseas markets. And last year we issued a pamphlet on the certification and testing service provided by Hong Kong. For instance, it covers ISO, BSI, EU markets. Of course, we know that already many private commercial companies are already doing this. Now, they have no particular incentive to work with the government, and so the government knows that they are doing it. But how do you promote Hong Kong so that it's widely accepted? Now, these companies can open branches in other countries. But you must find an industry. For instance, petroleum products. We know that's a major industry in Singapore. Now, for the certification, for the testing agencies, they are already doing this in Hong Kong. And why is it that the certificates are accepted abroad? It's because the HKES has already has already managed to get them recognized abroad. Otherwise, their certificates will not be issued. That's why the HKES provides a valuable service, that is, so that their certificates are accepted abroad. Mr. Lam Tai Fai. Now, I'm asking about information in the document. Now, in para 8, it says that the HAS will pay attention to the needs by the market in extending new accreditation service. So that is very correct, but the expression is rather abstract and there is a lack of details. So I don't know how you are, in what areas are you progressing? For instance, health products, agricultural products, performing testing in connection with lead content. Now, so I'm sure you must be working in the direction of the market. Now, I also, para 18, you say that there have been 11 items that have been funded by the ITF, and the amount is $24.29 million. Now, that's not a small amount. Can you provide more details? Thirdly, para 20, it says that there are 6 testing laboratories which have signed agreements with the mainland so that they can take on CCC work. Now, that's in para 22, compulsory, the China compulsory certification system. Now, can you provide details? What types of products are covered? 3 questions, Madam Commissioner. Now, on para 8, now, what types of certification service do we accredit? Now, well, when the certification agencies want us to accredit a new service because there's more and more demand, then we go ahead and do it. So 8A to G show some of these areas. For instance, item G, testing of lead content in solder or filler metal soldering, brazing, and so on. Now, previously there was no such demand, so the service was not required, but there has been such demand recently, so we are providing the accreditation service. So, you mean you are responding by saying that A to G are your new directions, right? Yes, items A to G are some of the new areas that we have been accrediting. And as for future new services, it depends on what the public and what the industries wants us to provide in terms of accreditation areas. Now, on the second question, perhaps I will ask the Deputy Commissioner to respond. Now, the 11 items are mostly to do with medical testing. I don't have the names of the 11. Now, as for CEPA, now, how about the 11 items? You don't have to tell me their names. What's the progress? You provided subsidies, so how have they developed? Some items are already completed, some are still in progress. Of course, it's either completed or in progress, right? Well, they wouldn't have just come to an end. For the items supported by DF, 8 of them have already been commercialized. The products have been commercialized. Now, you asked about the 11. I can provide the information afterwards. On the third question, there are 11 testing laboratories in Hong Kong. They cover toys, audiovisual products, information technology products. Now, we don't have the data on their business volume. How do you quantify their capability? We empower them to do the testing for CCC, and they can get business on the mainland. Now, as for how many clients they manage to attract, we do not have the figures, but because that is commercial operation. You mean that they have the capability? First, I'd like to declare interest. I am a member of HKCTC, and I am also the chairman of the Quality Assurance Organization. Now, the testing and certification industry has had a good history. Now, in the 70s and 80s, now the toy industry and the electrical goods industry benefited from the efforts of the C&T agencies. Otherwise, the manufacturing industry would not have developed so well at the time. Now, looking at C&T industry currently, I think the business receipts and the number of employees, now they seem to have stalled in the progress of these commercial enterprises. I think the main reason is that we don't have the manpower. Now, over the years, only the BTC has provided some training. Now, the Open University has provided more opportunities in recent years because it has detected the opportunities available. Now, however, people will not receive degrees till next year. Now, the industry has provided valuable support to industrial and commercial enterprises in Hong Kong and even the government. Now, C&T is also related to people's livelihood and not just economic activity. Now, of course, people are interested in food and medicine. Now, taking the livelihood angle, shouldn't the government step up on testing, taking samples? so that people can have more confidence in their food and medicine. Now, so I'd like to ask the officials whether they can inform us of a government policy to step up food and drug testing so as to meet people's concern and also to provide more room for the CNT industry.
主席 Commissioner. Well, we are a facilitating organization. When it comes to policy and regulatory requirements, it's the FHB's responsibility, the Food and Health Bureau. If there are certain requirements that would need testing and certification, well, the Hong Kong Council of Testing and Certification will provide service, will put in place measures to enable these services to be available. But well, our work is to put in place measures to facilitate development. Well, actually, I expect the answer from the Commissioner. And it's not that it's wrong, but I'd like them to take the opportunity to maybe take a more macro view of this. It's not just about one single bureau or department. We're talking about food safety, which is related to people's livelihood, and it's very important. And it's not just a business opportunity under testing and certification. It's an important livelihood issue. Hong Kong has a place in the world map in this regard because we have credibility. How can we make use of testing and certification on the livelihood matter? I believe the relevant bureau should give us some answers. Perhaps, Chairman, you can reflect our views to the relevant bureau after the meeting. We're finished with the first round. Second round is An Chang and Sin Chung Kai. Well, this item should wrap up at 3:35. Before we have the second round, I'd like to know testing and certification. And members talked about livelihood, food safety, medicine testing. Well, what about iron content level, fat level in food is under you. But when it comes to food safety, is under the FEHD. Is that right? Yes. If it's about the content of food, then they will have to do testing. But when it comes to testing of the presence of certain substance, regulatory requirements is not set by us. We facilitate. If there are testings required, say for example content level of a certain substance, the laboratories should do it, and we will accreditate laboratories and to make sure that all the procedures are in place and these laboratories are operating properly. So second round, Ms. An Chang, 4 minutes. Well, if you want to answer your phone, I will ask Mr. Sin to start. I would like to ask the questions. Well, I am trying to think of a different way to ask the questions. Say, 21. You said promotional efforts. I would like to know about that as well. You said that business receipts comes from a number of industries. A significant share comes from providing testing services and not certification, just testing. That is under paragraph 21. It's not certification. And in particular, testing done for toys, clothing, and textiles. That's the significant share of the business receipts. Are you looking at the same page, Commissioner? So I have a question. In the 1990s, there are some testing laboratories in Hong Kong just testing. Say those that are in Tai Po Industrial Estate, they will provide testings for toys, clothing, and textiles. So you talk about these promotional efforts. That is what happened in the 1990s. So what's new? You said that there is a huge growth coming from where? I hope that there will be a new type coming from certification, but not. There isn't. Well, there may be hundreds of companies doing different things. Well, the government is responsible for making sure that there is continuous development in testing and certification. But I need to have sufficient information, statistics and data, so that I'll know the positioning of the industry. And if a lot of certification services are provided for Chinese medicine coming from overseas, then maybe we should boost the development of certification on Chinese medicine. But by the looks of it, there isn't much growth for certification. And for testing, it's mainly toys, clothing, and textiles. Maybe we need to have a review of the testing and certification industry. I had a lot of expectation for this because I do think it is one of the future pillar industries in Hong Kong. You will have to save some time for the officials to answer. Who is to take the question? I agree with Ms. Chang. We will talk to the Census and Statistics Department. Just now it was said that there was no information about 2014, and the fact is that the CNSD doesn't really have the information for 2014, and they have to talk to the to trade. And we need more information to know where does the significant growth lies. About growth, yes, we have to have the information, and as to whether there is a breakdown of targeted trades for traditional major ones, yes, but for smaller ones, not yet. We'll have a talk with the CNS department so that we will have more accurate information as our discussion basis. Chairman, how about this? Well, sometimes if you go and ask the CNS department, you may have to wait a very long time to have the data compiled. We only have 2013 figures, but we're almost in 2016. Perhaps we will ask for more manpower given to the CNS department to do the job. Maybe there is manpower shortage in the department. Well, Miss Chang, it's now November 2015, and I think the most updated information will be 2014. And it's only been 11 months after 2014. You think the information for 2015 can be available in the 1st of January 2016? You will have to wait till June, because there is a lead time. Don't forget that we're still in 2015. So if you chase the government, you will have to have a concept of time. Chairman, you will chair the meeting. I'm a member. I would like to get a better understanding. If I think I need more information to help, yes, you may raise the point. Why are you so anxious? I'm not asking you to compile the statistics. Yes, you may make a point, but it has to be reasonable. What's so unreasonable? I'm only asking for figures. What figures? You may as well ask for figures for 2017. I was asking for figures for 2014. Perhaps you, Mr. Sin, perhaps you two should go outside and have a fight first. Our understanding is that the CNSD is compiling figures for 2014, which will be given to us shortly. Well, we will give you the figures for 2014 together with the breakdown for your information. Well, that's what the Commissioner said. Well, information for 2014 has been made available on a lot of different things. Mr. Sin. My question is similar to that of Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. Well, you will just do it by the book. You will accreditate testing and certification laboratories, and that's it. It will be difficult if you are to promote it in this way. You can do more. Hong Kong people are very concerned about food safety. Well, when we buy food from the supermarket, and there are a lot of claims on the back of the package, I don't know whether to believe that. And of course, if its misrepresentation is against the law, but if you say that, well, it's been tested and certified in Hong Kong, then the situation will be completely different, and there will be Hong Kong people will have confidence. It will kill two birds with one stone. If it is certified by a Hong Kong laboratory to be safe, that'd be even better. And if food manufactured on the mainland is certified in Hong Kong to be safe, then it can be done. Commissioner. Well, you say that if there is a certification, it will help. Well, unless there are statutory requirements, it's done on a voluntary basis. It's for the food manufacturer to do testing and certification, unless unless there are statutory requirements stating that certain ingredients will have to be stated on the package. It's very difficult for us to promote the industry by asking for more regulatory requirements. What we promote is that this is where Hong Kong's advantage lies. We have testing and certification services available. So if they want to do it voluntarily, no, I don't really agree with you. If you take random samples for tests and find that to be honest, when it comes to excessive lead in water, it was because we were testing for something else, and we found that there is excess lead. You will have to find it and do it, and instead of sitting there and wait for it to happen. What about doing inspections when you have time? We will look into it. The council will look into it as to what more we can do. Well, perhaps electrical can give you more resources. When you have time, you should conduct inspections. Any other questions? No. Next item. progress of negotiations under the World Trade Organization, WTO, and on plurilateral trade agreements.
We have with us Mr. Raislin Lau, Deputy Director General of Trade and Industry, and Mr. Howard Yam, Assistant Director General. And please take us through the documents, and then members will ask questions. Thank you, Chairman. Now, our document has already detailed the latest development of the negotiations under the WTO and plurilateral trade agreements. Now, since the Doha round, we have tried to implement the decisions on trade facilitation, for instance. Now, the WTO has on the trade facilitation agreement, Hong Kong was the first to join that in late 2014. 2/3 of the WTO members are to join before it can be effective. 51 have joined so far. WTO members have also entered into talks on post-Bali work program. However, no consensus has been reached on major issues, so there has been no clear work program yet. Now, in December this year, there will be in Nairobi, Kenya, the MC10, the 10th Ministerial Conference. Discussion is going on for a package so that the discussions can be more fruitful. Now, Hong Kong is a staunch supporter of multilateral trade discussions. We shall attend all the discussions, and we also participate in IT agreements, trade and services agreement, and we will try to, and also environmental goods agreements. We will try to gain the most benefit for Hong Kong. Mr. Charles Mok. Now, this document talks about expanding the IT agreement, and it also says that the agreement has great benefit for the local trade, and $8 billion of exports, and 23 there is $2,324 billion worth of re-exports, whereas 8 billion relates to exports. Now, these figures are very impressive. Now, we noticed that there has been a trend, but many people in the trade are not aware of what the trade is in. Are they just the mobile phones, or what? Now, we have such huge re-export trade. Now, the government is very anxious to promote the local economy. Now, can we investigate how we can make use of this achievement to attain a bigger share of the pie locally? So out of this $8 billion and $2.3 trillion, how much is local content? Now, on IT products, they cover a wide range. For instance, in our latest discussions, the list will extend to the latest display screens, maybe products people conceive of traditionally as IT products, for instance, digital cameras, amplifiers, and so on. So that's why the re-exports can go to $2-point-something trillion. Now, for the $8 billion of domestic exports, now that means the products qualify as domestic exports. Now, our department is mainly responsible for discussion with other markets so as to gain more access for our products. Now, as to how to induce a higher local content, I think that is dealt with by other policy bureaus and departments. Now, if our local products, now you can include all the headsets and whatnot. Well, let's see about the re-exports. Domestic exports is $8 billion. Well, you don't have to talk about reindustrialization if you have more local content. Now, I welcome re-export too, but I really feel that you need to consider as the government how to deepen this so that there is more local content in production so as to have more impact on the economy. Otherwise, only the re-exports make some money, that's fine, but can we do better in terms of employment and so on? Can we grow the $8 billion into $18 billion? Now, of course, you are responsible for trade negotiations, but perhaps you can go back to the C&I Bureau and so on, so that the local content can be increased further so that Hong Kong can be reindustrialized. So that's what I hope Hong Kong can achieve. We mustn't be complacent with these figures just because they look big. Well, this is not directly related to WTO negotiations, but you can forward the views to the relevant departments. Yes, we will. Now, we talk about One Belt, One Road, but we need to talk about the multilateral talks under WTO. I think more multilateral agreements would be helpful. Now, the SCL government will continue to participate in the WTO discussions. That's worth supporting. Now, but you are not confident that much can come out of it in the next 2 or 3 years. So will you enter into more bilateral agreements as some other economies are doing? Now, of course, Hong Kong is a staunch supporter of multilateral trade systems, and we will participate in the WTO, but it's true that there are more regional agreements or plurilateral agreements, and in these regards, the SAR government is participating actively. For instance, we are taking part in trade in service agreement negotiations. 23 WTO members are involved. 8 of them are major Hong Kong trading partners. So we hope that the discussions can soon come to a fruitful conclusion, and we are also taking part in the environmental good agreement negotiations and also the IT agreement negotiations, and we're also taking part in 4 rounds of free trade discussions with ASEAN, and the next round will begin soon. Because ASEAN is our second largest trading partner, and we very much hope that we can take part in more regional and plurilateral trade negotiations as long as they provide more opportunities for Hong Kong. I also like to ask Mr. Lau, we are facing many kinds of negotiations, WTO, global, multilateral, bilateral, concerning the Doha agreement. Now, the development agenda that has been held up for quite a while. Where is the difficulty? Where does the barrier lie or obstacle lie? Now, what's the major obstacle in respect of the Doha round? Now, the Doha round was centered around development, and it started in 2001. And at the time, the WTO members had quite a good consensus on the development agenda. Now, as the rounds of discussions drag on, the WTO developed country members and the developing country members showed a divergence, and they have different opinions on priorities of agenda items. So the rounds of discussions could not achieve a lot of breakthrough because the developed and the developing economies were in disagreement. Now, Hong Kong has no difficulty. We have zero tariff, so we have no problem with goods trade. On trade in services, Hong Kong is also very open. We don't anticipate any problems for Hong Kong as well. However, the developed economies and the developing economies are at loggerheads. So Hong Kong is a victim, right? Like many other economies, Hong Kong hopes that the discussions can conclude soon. We are also disappointed in the progress of the talks. It seems that the Doha round is sort of breaking down. The interests of the parties cannot be resolved, and other talks have taken the place of the Doha round. So each country has its own discussions with other trading partners. So are people really sort of disinterested in the Doha round? As I said, there is no breakthrough in sight for the Doha round yet, but for small economies like Hong Kong, the multilateral system is still the best one. It provides a legal mechanism for disputes, and it provides a good legal framework. So we continue support the Doha round, and we will take part in the discussions. And we agree with the chairman now on the plurilateral and regional trade talks. There are quite a number of them. We actively take part in certain of them. Now, for instance, service trade agreements. Now, service is 93% of the Hong Kong economy,
which is the sector that contributes most to our economy. We would like to identify more opportunities for them. Well, the 23 WTO members, 8 of them are our biggest trade counterparts or trade partners. So if we can successfully conclude our negotiation and trade and services agreement, there will be more business opportunities for us. Any other questions from members? If not, I thank Mr. Lau and Mr. Hong, and Mr. Yan actually. We will continue. Any other business? There being no other business, meeting adjourned.